Can we put that in here?
How much money do you think this is? Can I get some? Can I have some? What do you can do with it? Just have it in there? Just, don't worry about it. Okay. All right, you guys, welcome to the apartment. If you see here, I have a stack in my hand. Well, half a stack now. You took half my stack. But today's episode is a very special episode. We are going to give you a little bit of financial advice, right?
No, we're not doing any financial advice. This is just financial talk.
Financial talk.
You can't be liable for that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't be liable for that.
So today's guest is Aditya Kaul, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about finances. He's a finance expert. So we're just gonna ask him some questions, you know, those general questions that people like us in the entertainment industry may or may not have information on, right?
Right.
I feel like there's so much money going around, and we need to know how to manage our money. So Adi's gonna come over, give us some advice, or just give us a little bit of a talk.
You gotta stop saying advice.
Sorry,
Gosh,
sorry.
we're just talking.
Yeah, we're just talking. So meet us here and learn how to manage some finances, all right?
All right, y'all. It's the money of just.
All right, so Adi should be here any minute.
Yay.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Right?
I'm ready to learn about some money because I got this little bag and I need to put it to use.
Okay, Miss Moneybags. So what's in here? You still got a stack in there?
Nothing's in there. Nothing.
Let's see these questions.
Oh. Hello.
Yeah,
Come
hello.
in.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, Adi.
Oh, what is this?
wow.
Like a
A bottle
French
of wine.
wine. I hope you guys like it.
Thank you so much.
Of
course.
Good to
Sweet.
see you.
Good seeing you.
Say hi to Styles.
Yo, boss man, how you doing?
And you're sitting in the middle.
Oh,
Careful.
yeah, right.
Oh,
Okay. That's the hot seat.
Yeah, that's the hot seat.
all right.
Welcome in.
All right. As you can see, we've already gotten to the money.
Yeah, we made a little bit of a mess here. You know.
Looks good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
to department.
Thanks,
No problem. This is super exciting for us because we have financial questions and it's hard to ask these questions sometimes because, you know, you can feel kind of silly, especially at this age, maybe not knowing certain things that you know you should know.
Yeah.
So this is going to be the perfect opportunity for us to just get real and ask some real money questions.
Yeah.
So,
So we're gonna ask you some questions, but I think Styles might have some questions too.
Mhm.
So we're just gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maybe we take a break, get everything set up, and then get into the
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, you guys, give us one moment. We're gonna pour some water, get some beverages, you know, get hydrated, and we'll be back in a few minutes. See ya. Okay, you guys, welcome back to the apartment. We have sitting here with us, Adi. What's up? Good. It's really good to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
I've been bothering you about this for the past couple months a little bit.
I know. That's why I think you.
She's been running it by me.
But you were such a good sport about it.
I mean, listen, it's always fun to come out and, you know, speak some thoughts of wisdom and, like, see where it goes. And
Yeah.
Obviously.
Great. Good to have you. Okay, so I'm gonna get straight into this.
Okay, let's do it.
Adi, how did we meet?
Oh, my wonderful friend Fabian.
Yeah. We have a mutual friend by the name of Fabian.
And yeah, I was at a spot one day and then at the restaurant Oli Astro.
Mhm.
Amazing spot. By the way.
Yeah.
Love it.
Great spot.
And that's where I met you. And like, I remember we clicked on music for starters.
Mm-hmm. We went and played pool, or I don't think I played that night.
Yeah,
But
we did.
we went to a bar and
pool after meeting for the first time, and then yeah, clicked from there. I think talked about what I did, and then we spoke about an artist, Punjabi artist that I
Yeah.
shared with you about.
that I still play to this day. The song Brown Moonday.
Found one day.
Yeah.
You had it on, yeah. You
Yeah,
just playing it.
She was like, "What song is this?" And I was like, "Oh, Adi, tell me about this song." I still bump it in the
Yeah,
house.
she does.
I do.
That's my jam.
Yeah.
I guess that's our connection point was for starters, like music
Yeah.
specifically, and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. So yeah, we bonded over music, but today we're going to talk about money. Yeah.
let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about money. All right, let's get into it. So, we all live in New York. I feel like New York is such a melting pot for different cultures. And I really love to learn how, all of our cultures influence the way that we create, or specifically more for you. I just wanted to know what your cultural background is, and how do you think it influences the way you look at money?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'll start from so I came to the US in 2015. Culturally, we joke in our family that my family is specifically like a mocktail. So we have like my dad's side of the family is Punjabis and my mom's side is Kashmiris. So we bring in like the mix of both worlds at the same place. Kashmiri culture because of the nature of historical events.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? What?
So it's called Jammu and Kashmir. It's the state. Kashmir.
Kashmir.
Kashmir, yeah. It's top north, like sharing borders with Pakistan.
Mhm.
And then as you go down north is Punjab. That's where my dad's side of the family is. And yeah, it does bring a lot of different variations of cultural expectations. I feel like the Kashmiri culture is more about working with resilience, focusing on a long-term plan and, curating a stable aspect of life.
Mhm.
And on the Punjabi side is more so about being upbeat, being courageous, and giving your best self every time. So I feel like that blend has given me the opportunity to like curate completely different set of expectations for myself and bring me here where I'm at with it. So
Yeah.
it does help me,
That sounds like a really good blend of um, blend of ways to look at money, or acquiring money.
definitely.
It's like, yeah, it's long-term plan, but also being courageous and taking risks.
Yeah, altogether, yeah. So Kashmir is like when we migrated from the state of Jammu and Kashmir, when mom's side of the family, there was this sense of instability across the board. So growing up, my mom's side of the family would constantly be talking about like how you gotta be resilient in the process, work on the long-term plans. Because things are not very great at the beginning, but life does get smooth enough as time progresses.
Yes.
Punjabi side of the culture is more upbeat about, you live life on your own terms and be courageous, be entrepreneurial, and take those aspects of life to the next level. So yeah, those two things coming together at the cusp helped me realize how expectations of money on the both sides are very, very different. But at the same time, you blend in and create something of your own.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Yeah, and that sounds like a great blend of ways to look at money. Okay, this next question is kind of piggybacks off of that. What was your relationship with money growing up, and how has it evolved?
Growing up, obviously, we were coming up from a very modest means. Like, there are a lot of stuff goes in behind the scenes that we were not really made aware of, And when in the grand scheme of things do work out with, especially like from schools to colleges, we never really asked about like how it would be taken care of, but we were told like it's taken care of. So behind the scenes, it was always taken care of.
Yeah.
And so from that point in time, I feel like I never really knew until I came from my postgrad to the US in 2015, and I was like, okay, now I understand what role money has. So at that point in time, I was using it as a tool to progress to the next level in my professional career, and also, not be scared of it either, because getting scared doesn't get anybody anywhere. In my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you embrace the fact that coming in from a humble means, gives you some perspective about how life is, and how you are and where you are currently and how far you have come in the process, I feel like the whole game changes.
Mhm.
It's just it's like investing. You will get there, I know, but like I feel like
Yeah.
you gotta give yourself some breathing space and
Yeah.
look at the long term plan of how it may turn out.
Yeah.
Which definitely turns out very, very well for
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd want to say faith, but it's not faith because I feel like faith is like moving forward without knowing for sure, but like having hope. But I feel like your perspective is a little bit more um like having because of the game plan that you have, like it's almost sure in a way.
I kind of agree with that aspect of it. Reason being because culturally we are taught to be, resilient and keep trying until you
Mhm.
figure out a way. And I feel like that kind of builds your palate to keep evolving in the process. You don't really settle for, I wouldn't say average, but just
Yeah.
for nothing, Like I
Yeah.
that is a pivotal moment when you stop settling for what's being given to you, and it gets better from there point onward. So it's just you build your strengths and weaknesses of that, and works out just fine.
Okay. You hear that, you guys? No settling. We don't settle here. We work until we get what we want. All right. I'm going to ask you one more question and then we're going to take a quick break. Is that cool?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. So you are a finance expert, and I know that you kind of specialize a little bit in the world of endowment work and specifically hospital endowment finance.
Sure.
I just wanted to know how you got into the world of finance, hospital endowment finance. How did you kind of stumble your way into that?
So from the onset, the aspect of money, economy, and the macroeconomic events across the board always had this thought in my head that, okay, how do these three things come together and kind of make a world a better place? And to understand these events, you need to understand how the money circulation works from individuals to institutions and to families, if you think about it. Because at the end of it, it's just like you fulfilling needs across the board, helping communities out, building the whole space for all the communal aspects of life, and building all those niche areas. So I feel like that's where it started. Uh, I did my master's in accounting from India. And I feel like that's where I understood how financial statements, different strategies across corporates help them curate a financial plan to blend in with the growing needs as well as just to forecast and budget future expectations. So keeping that in mind, while pursuing my full-time job and doing my master's in accounting, I feel like I was able to kind of bridge that gap in the process to understand, okay, like what I'm learning, that's what I'm implementing at the same time. And in that whole cusp of instances, I found that niche. I was like, okay, that's how institutional investment works. That's how corporations work. And fast forward 2015, I came to the US and I came for my MBA and I did an MBA in finance. And, coming from an emerging market to like a developed economy like United States, like it's just a different ballgame. Like you're exposed to so many different facets of finance that were not really part of my education system back home.
Mm.
And Endowment was one of those. So came to the US, and because of my hospital's finance experience from India, like I was able to touch base with a lot of institutions in New York specifically because it's a financial capital. I mean, there wouldn't be any better place to transition and find a
Yeah.
spot at that perfect niche area. And yeah, started exploring opportunities and shared my input with the interviews that I had with the senior leadership from across the health system. And I was able to thankfully land a gig in New York City, living the dream,
Yeah.
in
There we
finance. So yeah, currently I oversee the operations, accounting, and investment management, more so on the accounting and operations side of the endowment fund for one of the leading hospitals in New York City. Uh, the idea of it is to just make sure we have a long-term vision.
Mhm.
And on the vision board, we obviously have education scholarships, research, and grants in perpetuity to make sure these endowments can fulfill these needs, not for long haul, like not for a short term, but more so
Yeah.
for the long haul, and keep constantly providing that and improving the research aspect.
You hear that, ladies? He's thinking about the long run. That's we like to hear that.
Yeah. Man with a plan.
A man with a plan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Love that. Okay, let's take a quick break, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm freezing, so we need to do something about that also. Okay. So yes. Quick break and we'll be right back, y'all. Styles, where are you? We're waving. We're waving.
Yo, shit. I don't need no beat. I do it all on my own. Look, this feel like the final lap till I reach victory. I've been on this journey chasing after what God sent for me. Hopping all these instrumentals, give them all these symphonies. Melodies so beautiful and bars that keep you into me. Entity is godly, how I go keep up this energy. I don't need no beat, it's in my heart, you know it's meant to be. Opposite of what a quitter thinks, you know it's destiny. Best of me, give you all my all, since you testing me. I'm always a student, but I learn and then I bless the beat. Blessings that I had to go take back, just what was stole from me. You could never have a piece of me and all this flowetry. So to God that I'ma touch the sky for like a growing tree. Ain't no sin in stopping me, I break to just go sow a seed. And so it seems that they look at me and think they knowing me. You don't know the half of what I got, cause ain't been showing me. I'ma let it all out on my own, so you see utterly I flutter like a leaf. Cause when I fall so gracefully, they hate to see how I transform. You gon' see this, how greatness be forming up inside of me. I think it's really safe to see. I got a vision with my third eye, wait and see. Ain't no vacancy within my heart, be myself faithfully. Authenticity up in my veins, cause ain't no faking me. Righteously, I feel this like I'm thin, but I still Jake, you see. Sometimes I might struggle on my path, but just you wait and see. I am not a syrup, but my rat, the one they bake the shoots. I am not a female, so there's cash when they pay for me. I could bring my people to the top, I think I faithfully. They ain't know it's all inside of me, it's all I need, I did it all on my own. I don't need no big part, it's all that I own. Ain't no stopping me, I do it all on my own. I don't need no big part, it's all that I own. Ain't no stopping me, I do it all on mine. I do it all on mine. I do it all on mine. Yeah.
Transfer is available. D and D trains.
Transfer to the Phoenix Select Bus Service. This is an accessible station. The elevator is at the center of the platform. Accessible subway station.
All right, you guys, welcome back to Department. We are talking all things finance. I'm here with Aditya Kaul, and he is going to answer a few more questions about finances and give us a little bit of a talk.
Yes. All right, Aditya, I'm trying to fill up this bag with money and you're going to tell me how I do it. Okay, so my question for you is, what's something you wish more people understood about wealth building?
We'll start from the foundation of kids here because that's, I feel like it's the pivotal moment for parents and families and all the others to understand. Like, there's this huge gap on what is being taught in schools to what actually happens in real world. Though eventually all ties back in, but I feel like from a kid's perspective, it's essential to understand, like, oh, what a credit score is. Oh, how am I spending this money? How am I getting my change back?
Yeah.
Those facets of life kind of brings this curiosity in them, which brings them out there to, explore. So I feel like, for starters, once a kid turns 13, I would say a parent should bring them on board as a credit card owner, where they will be the potential co-signers on the card, or like what you call like an authorized user on the card, and give them a budget on it. Let's say, I don't know like how kids nowadays spend. Back in my days, I had like literally $2. And you're like, go figure it out. It's the whole month for you. You're getting no more than that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I guess kids have more expenses, which is understandable.
Maybe like $100 or something. I don't know. I think that's reasonable for a kid these days. Yeah, I don't know actually.
I mean, 13-year-old? Well,
I don't know.
that's a
Yeah,
great question.
I would think so. What?
I mean, an average meal in school, give or take, costs $8.
Yeah.
And if you're commuting to school, that's $3, which is free by the city. So I assume that's ballpark $100.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like when you provide the kid that liberty to have a credit card, you teach them as like a founding father, be like, listen, this gives you luxury and liberty and a tool to spend. So, it's more than just money being paid, but
Yeah.
also it's like the idea of like, it gets you from place to place. It makes you independent. It makes you realize your expenses are being accounted for, like as you an individual. So like that could be like a founding, like the first step, rather, I would say, not a founding step, the first step. And after 5 years, when kids are 18 years old, that 5 years from 13 to 18, you use those years to build as your own credit and start off fresh. Now, anybody would ask, like, how would that help? Like, think it of this way, like, if I was 13 and I don't have any credit, and at 18 I go and apply, I would not be approved. I need a cosigner or like an authorized user to do so. Now I'm 5 years ahead in the game altogether. Granted, it does definitely come with a lot of risk, but I guess what is not at this point. Might as well teach ourselves, our kids, or the next generation, like what it takes to be, financially astute, aware, and, be mindful of expenses. I feel like that would be like the starting point. New York City, like I would say, our mayor, Eric Adams, has these amazing finance programs in all these underserved communities where he explicitly talks about teaching our next generation of how banking works, what is good interest, what is bad interest, don't roll over debts, reduce your monthly expenses or spendings, or just understand what credit score does in a nutshell. And I feel like that whole aspect, unfortunately, is not taught in schools.
Yeah, at all.
And who would teach this? Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like that could be easily taught to anybody in school, and they would understand it better, because at that age you're spending so much time in school. I feel like it becomes your second nature to understand and adapt to these things.
So that would be the time to implement this.
Exactly. And I feel like that would be like a good starting point. And the next step would be just like, once you're 18, obviously now it's time to go to undergrad, potentially out of home. Start building a budget for yourself. Gotta live little frugally in those initial days. Not that I'm saying don't, like embrace the fact that you are coming out of your parents' house. If a lot of people or a lot of kids in America do go out to undergrad schools in different states. But if you're in New York, and if your family's in New York, and I'll just stay home. Maximize that aspect, save as much as I can, educate myself on financial learning, start investing, because there's no time
To waste with it.
These are all great. Okay, and I'm gonna have you, because I'm gonna do the next question, because I feel like some of this is gonna fall into that, and I want you to try to, because it's gonna be, I need 3 things from you. So if you can kind of like maybe think for a second and kind of bop, give me all 3 like straight away. Okay.
Cool.
So here's the question: What are 3 small but powerful financial habits people can use to build in their 20s or early 30s? You can think about like 3 financial habits, kind of like just like you can kind of sum them up.
And you talk about 20 to 30-year-olds. So what are these?
Yeah.
Employed individuals or getting to be employed?
Oh, that's a good
combination of things.
Maybe a combination.
All right, so we'll do 2 then. So one who's in undergrad and somebody who is already employed at, let's say, 22.
3 small but powerful financial habits that they can use to build.
Okay. I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's hear it.
So let's say if you are an employed individual working at some company, I would say that's what I was taught in school, to max out on your 401k, whatever you're making. Like that's so essential that I know initially it may come off like, oh, you don't get enough money in the bank, which I understand. but you're 22.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you can live off of top ramen and popcorn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, fruits. Let's have some
Yeah,
nice fruits.
fruits, yeah.
Fresh fruit. So it could be all doable. So I feel like max out your 401k for starters, and then whatever money you get, I would say like start budgeting with that aspect of the fund. Like, don't go out bawling saying like, okay, that's my like, spend money. I'm not going to spend it all. Like, I feel like that's where the line gets a little hazy. We forget what's spending money, what's saving money, how 401k all comes together. But I feel like building a budget and separating what spending money will look like, whether it's rent, whether it's food, and then separating the other aspect of it.
Is that the second one? So the first one is max out your 401k. The
Yes,
second one is
definitely.
budgeting.
Yes, definitely focus on budgeting, like what expenses, fixed expenses and variable expenses will look like potentially, and how that can help you save more. I'm not saying deprive yourself from
Yeah.
the luxuries of life, but I'm just saying moderately plan them. Like, you got to earn those, privileges, I would say. I was raised like that. So I would say you got to earn, if you want to go for a vacation, save some.
Yeah.
Can't be spending on credit cards and like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
swipe it and live it, and later on be paying debts on those, like for 24%, give or take.
Okay.
So I feel like,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the second would be like budgeting and planning. And lastly, I would say, once you have your budget sorted, there will be part of an expense which will be fixed, and there will be a variable. Fixed will be like, let's say, your cell phone, your
Yeah.
rent,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Car payments.
car payments. If you're not in New York City, you're lucky to not have
Yeah.
a car. But like,
Mhm.
yeah, then your commute transport will be one of those.
Yes.
You'll end up like spending money. But like, I feel like after that, there will be a decent chunk, which, in my perspective, or in my case, accounted for 40%.
Okay.
I feel like with that 40%, you can use 80% of that money to put it away. That
Okay.
will be your
Huh.
rainy day fund.
Mm-hmm.
Could be invested or keep it for a 6 month fund where, if hypothetically you end up switching a job or a bad job market happens, like you have some money to live off. So that buffer time,
So much planning. Gosh. Ah.
that's the
Yeah.
right? Like, you gotta like live off that, and that remaining money could be like your money to enjoy life initially. I mean, you're
Yeah.
22 again, like
Yeah.
what's the end goal? I feel like that's what endowments also taught me too. Like,
Mhm.
the goal of an endowment is to serve to the community and
Mhm.
the institution in perpetuity.
Okay. Okay. You want it to keep.
Keep repeatedly doing it as long as you can, and like
Yeah.
it's just then you can fund more research. There will be more scholarships.
Yes.
Endowments can grow in size, obviously, and then
Okay.
again, that's how it goes. So that was my first one for
Such a
somebody
great one.
who's starting a fresh job
Okay.
right out of 22.
Uh-huh.
Now, if we talk about somebody who is getting to college at 18 or 19 and wants to like start bright and early,
Yeah.
that also goes the same way. I would say like try and hustle and figure out scholarships, because there are plenty of them.
Okay. Okay.
So many.
Scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Because I want to get through. I want to get through these, and I know we don't have a lot of camera time.
So
I'm
next
dying.
one would be in this particular case would be like budgeting your monthly expenses. If you're living in New York City, you don't really need to like go into dorms and just stay back home for at least
Yeah.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like eventually in the fourth industry experience all those things, you can like eventually move out of the dorm. So budgeting the aspects of fixed and variable expenses. And lastly, I would say like investment account for yourself. Find some ETF or a mutual fund that you can invest your money in, and like forget that exists.
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And don't rely on it until
Right.
like it compounds to a astronomical number that you never expected it to be.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're employed, it's 401k maxed out,
Yes.
budgeting.
Correct.
And what was that third one again? It was
Like start investing with whatever the leftover
investing
you have,
with your
like,
left-
and use the budget to like separate the fixed and the variable cost, and like forget that money exists.
and then if you are in college, it is I'm trying to remember what it was again.
Focusing on like if you're, let's say, I mean, if we're talking about New York City, like if you're in New York City, try and stay at home and still budget your
Yes,
expenses.
yeah.
Look for scholarships. So-
Scholarships.
Big time on scholarships. And then lastly would be just put some money away and think it doesn't exist.
And yes.
Until it
And
goes to
yeah, some
But then trust me, an average S&P goes up to like 8 to 9% on an average. So
Yeah.
it will grow if you keep.
I think about if I were to have just saved like $20 a week from like when I first started working, because I
Looking at
started
job.
working when I was like 15.
That's amazing.
Yeah, if I just did like 20 bucks a week,
And just
Imagine.
never thought about it.
And just never thought about it. Just put it in an investment account somewhere.
Well, that's like what, I'm not going to give a number out there, but I'm saying give or take, it's 15, 16 years ago that you had your first.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
8 to 9% on an annual basis. That's would have been a huge.
Yeah.
Just $20.
Just
Yeah,
like-
just $20 a week. Goodness.
Could definitely have afforded it.
And that's one thing also, like you can start, like if you're getting paid bi-weekly, right? Take that money right away by auto debit. Like you would
Yeah.
not even
Yeah,
see it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the best
Exactly.
part about it. Like if you don't see it, you don't have it.
You don't have it. Yeah.
And, you know, it pays again. That's how I see it. That's how I've been doing. I live off that.
Okay, this is the question I really want to know about too. How important is credit really, and what are the best ways to build it without going into debt?
I feel like in America, credit is huge.
Oh, okay. In
I'm
America.
renting.
Yeah.
I'll take it back actually. India is also huge. But like types of economies are really different. India is big on cash economy. Like we have a lot of cash gigs, so people do have. Okay, don't quote me on that, but I've seen personally a lot of people have a lot of cash around in India. So it's like if you're trying to rent a spot, like okay, I'm gonna pay 2 months in advance and I'm gonna move in. So, but in America, it's the other way around. So you need to have a background check for
Yeah.
renting an apartment, a car, school. If you end up buying a home, so I feel like those things add up.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to build a successful credit history without any defaults, I would say parents have a huge role to play. here.
Parents.
Mhm.
Yeah. Kind of like what you were saying earlier with, starting at 13.
Yes. And your kids as like an authorized user of the card.
Mm-hmm.
Tap it to, you said $100, I'll do 300, like worst case scenario, and then you would not get any.
Uh-huh.
And start building that from the inception at 13. And when they're 18, they already have a decent credit history, assuming parents pay their debts off.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time it's 22, they could potentially, rent their own space based on their credit history, the income they made, and, how successfully they've been managing their finances. Because at the end of it, it's all about management. So I feel like that could be like one moment for somebody to have their parents guide them through the process.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say somebody who's starting off scratch.
Yeah.
It is kind of difficult to build that from the onset, but it may take at least a year to 2 years to build that credit to a decent number. And I feel like it can be achieved once you have a recurring income. So I feel like focusing on, again, managing your expenses, not overspending, not relying extensively on credit card debts, getting rid of all the debt, which is an exorbitant amount of 24% interest on an annual basis.
Mm-hmm.
And go from there. I feel like that could be like a good starting point. And then obviously, believe it or not, if you have an investment account on the side and you don't have a decent credit,
Mm-hmm.
lenders would be so happy to see that you have a decent management, though you overspend,
Right.
but you still have an investment account that is being growing just fine and have recurring contributions to it. So
I like that. So ideally start at 13. And if not, if you're starting later, then it is a good idea to have a sort of investment account that
right, yeah,
can kind of vouch for your ability to
repay the debt.
repay debt.
Also, like focus on educating. Financial literacy is a huge subject, but never. I'm not criticizing the school system, but I feel like it's never really being focused in the education system as much as it should have been.
Yeah.
And I feel like once that is out there,
Yeah, because I feel like it's almost treated like an elective. Like if you honestly, it's like no, you need to know these things because
No.
you don't have a
Should
choice.
be a
You have
choice.
to, you have to live by this, so you might as well know it.
even simply how a loan works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How would you finance a house? Like simple things.
Yeah.
Like, there could be a simple math problem for it. You buy a $100,000 house. That's the rate of interest. How much you're gonna pay on a monthly basis? How long your tenure is gonna be? Like I feel like those are simplest things that can like help kids get intrigued first, and then once they're intrigued, they'll figure everything else out.
I got a quick question. This all sounds like really amazing, but how much of this is like mindset where like even just like I'm gonna use an example like going to the gym, right?
Yeah.
Like it takes a lot for me to like get into that routine to start going to the gym and then like start seeing progress, So where would you like recommend like somebody who doesn't know
Wait, Styles, you're not mic'd up. Oh, you're. Oh,
mic'd
sorry.
up.
Sorry.
Somebody who doesn't know a lot of the terms they're using? Like a lot of the terms, I can understand it, but I think a lot of the terms would go over people's heads.
Yeah, that 401k one still got me because I don't even really know what that is.
Somebody who's just green, like super green, and it doesn't have the. I'm talking mindset. It doesn't have the mindset. Would it be for you to like hang around a certain group of people, start reading certain kind of books, or like somebody who's just like, it's like, oh, this sounds good, but it's gonna take forever for me to get into that kind of stuff. What was like your first dip in the water? And
that's a very realistic question. I'll tell you that. A quick call on that. So I feel like we're in day and age of instant gratification. We want everything done right then and there, and we need to see a result right then and there. Like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really work that way. Like you gotta do your time to get to the point and see your final result. Like even with gym, like you said, right? The first day you may hate it, the second day you will, and the third day you'll be so pepped up. You're like, okay, I need to be there because I enjoy the energy there altogether. So that's first thing I'll say. So I feel like we should get off that bandwagon of like instant gratification. I feel like there's no quick money making scheme. I'll tell you that. Even the lottery tickets, I personally feel are like not. Because the probability of that happening is slim to none.
And then there's real skill people put into picking these numbers, and so there's lots of things to learn to play the lottery. Still,
from a quantitative standpoint, I would still try it. But like on a day-to-day basis, I don't think the odds are against me. Rather, I'll say. But getting back to your original question, I feel like we need to get off that bandwagon of instant gratification, which I know it is easy said than done.
So true.
That's the crux of it. I feel like, not to discredit anything or anybody, I feel like this day and age we are in, that we want to get everything at our goal. Like you order food, you get it in 10 minutes at our doorstep. You order grocery, it comes right there. So I feel like we are constantly being trained to get what we want at our like doorstep, like regardless, or like get fed. Point being, like, it's the process of financial literacy, or call it education, where we acquaint ourselves like what an investment will look like, how long it will take for me to get to point A to point B. What's my number, first of all? I think that would be a good starting point. Let's say if your number hypothetically is $1 million, but like how much you're going to contribute to get to that $1 million? What's the annual rate of return that you would potentially need to have to get to the point? How you want to diversify your asset classification across different geographies, and like make sure you're covered across different themes. Like I can go on and on, but I'm
like, oh my god.
So you're saying just get a grip of reality and know this is what it is, what it takes. It's not going to happen overnight.
It's not going to happen overnight.
My second question is, what is your look on taking care of your parents? Like after, how do you? Should you be paying for everything? Like when they stop working?
I love that question.
I know.
Should they be helping you set up helping them, or like how do
some cultures they do like
that's why I'm
insurance plans and all that kind of stuff. So what is your like take on that?
I take pride in taking care of my parents when they want to retire. Just for some backdrop, so my dad still owns a business. He was working for a pharmaceutical company for a really long time. And then I was with him during that time when he transitioned over to having his own business and like working for, like, how you have a distribution setup of medical devices and implants in my city. So that's how he started up. Like, so, I mean, he still goes 5 days in work at his age. Me being here, I feel like, touch wood, like he's doing great at what he does. But to your original question, I would take total pride in, setting them free. Do whatever you want to do. This is your place. Your health insurance will be taken care of. Back home, things are relatively better, so you can afford, by the grace of God, to have like helpers around, like, people help us cook and do all that stuff, because it's just how things work in emerging markets. It's just like too much labor, and like you give them an opportunity to work with you, and then they grow as well. And in return, my mom ended up like teaching their kids just to like like help them grow and come up from that whole societal barrier that they have been put into. But yes, to your original point, I would totally take that pride and be like, yo, you raised me right. I want to give it to you. So travel, do whatever you need to do, spend time, play golf, live life, because like they did put in a lot of hard work to.
Is that at your expense?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy. That's something I will take pride to spend every time I have to take care of them in any way or shape or form.
Wow.
Yeah, that's something I truly enjoy. Actually, I feel like it's payback time. I personally, not like in terms of like monetary aspect of it, but more so payback, like me doing good to them.
Yeah.
I'm like, they raised me. I'm here. It's 10 years in New York. I feel like it's all because of them. Their sacrifices. Like I was initially telling you, like behind the doors, there were a lot of things being taken care of.
Right. That you
Never
didn't
really got to me.
understand.
Yeah.
Peace was taken care of. Food is on the table. Struggle never really came up in front of us, but
But it was handled.
That's a good question. There, you touched me on that one.
You hear that, you guys? Take care of your parents. No questions asked. They deserve it. They deserve it. On that note, we're going to take a quick break again. And then we're going to ask you a few more questions. And then we're going to play a little game after. All right? So meet us back here, you guys, at Department. Hey, you guys, welcome back to Department. We are here with Adi and we are talking finance. Okay. So I have a few more questions for you. This has been really fun. Like, I love getting your take on money management, how we can build credit. And I have a couple more questions for you, okay? And this is about stocks.
All right, let's do it.
Which stocks are hot right now? What should I buy?
It's a
I'm
disclaimer.
joking.
I'm not a financial advisor, please.
I'm
Right.
joking. That wasn't the question. That was
Yeah.
the question. Okay. Stocks. Okay. For future millionaires like ourselves, how important is stock knowledge? And name a couple things about stocks that we should know. Just maybe like
Okay.
2-3 things.
I'll try and break it down to the simplest of terminology, and it's palatable, right? To start off with, I would not say expose yourself to any one stock or 2 stock or 3 stocks. Why I'm saying that is the risk to reward is really high. Now, by that I mean, unless you are focusing on like a big company like Coca-Cola, there's this whole NVIDIA craze going on right now, which I'm not selling anything, but I'm just like giving examples. Like I would steer away from those because I feel like the risk to reward is relatively questionable. Like, and depending upon like, like today I have $10,000 and tomorrow I just want the money back out, but the market would not let me get it out. So, like that limitation prohibits us to focus on individual stocks. What I would recommend is, if you're an avid learner and a reader, start off with focusing on industries. So like there are technology, healthcare, all we call them sectors. So there are technology, healthcare, and what else? Consumables and like
Cosmetics.
yes,
Something like that?
Yeah.
Or beauty. Beauty. Or
Yeah,
is
beauty would be the whole
Yeah.
spectrum of it, and then consumer discretionary, or for that matter, and like all those areas, or aviation, for instance, which is very monopolistic in nature. And then once you dig into those areas, you will find a passion for yourself, or like an alignment of like, oh, you know what, maybe I like consumer discretionary because it more so swings with pretty much purchasing power of an individual. Where else on the technology side, you may find in these up and down movements in just because the development has been constantly going on. So sometimes you'll have a great peak, and the other times you'll have a very shallow point. You'll be like, I'm kind of stuck with this purchase now. So I would say, like, for starters, that would be a great point. And then understanding how all it ties to in the macroeconomic space. So let's say I'm living in America, which I am in New York, and then we focus on like an ETF. ETF is for equity traded funds, also known as mutual funds, which is focused in Europe. And I like their approach. I like what kind of sectors they're catering to. I like the industries they're focusing on. And that fits in my whole bubble because I've read about Europe. I understand how the whole their day-to-day life is. I know how consumer spending is like. So in a nutshell, then I just like, living in America, buy an ETF or a mutual fund, which is being invested in Europe, and like expose myself to a geographic investment, which is out of my universe, which is America.
Yeah.
Now, in this instance, you can only do that if you constantly read and acquaint yourself how macroeconomic events are turning up. What's your risk appetite? How much money you're willing to invest? And what's the long-term horizon of this whole investment cycle? Like how long you want to be invested in this whole process? It cannot be like you want to put in $10,000 today and you want that money out next day because it's not going to align that way. So I feel like that could be a good starting point, understanding the sectors, focusing on the geographies, understanding how macroeconomic events all turns down and brings them all together as like a whole event. And then probably go from there. Vanguard, TIA, and I would say what else? S&P. I mean, I consider those funds are very like visible, but I was just trying to find companies that have less of an expense ratio. So the idea is when a company like Vanguard or TIA or for that matter Bank of America or Morgan Stanley manage their funds, your funds for you, they have an expense ratio. So idea is to find like funds that have low expense ratio. How will that help you is if it's a lower expense ratio, your money will grow faster. And on an average, I don't want to even quote because I feel like the expense ratio varies across so many different spectrums across different funds. So I feel like finding low commission funds or ETFs could be like a good starting point, and I would say spread across geographies. If you're going through economics, you will see how GDP across the world is growing. Not to quote anything, but there's emerging markets in Asia. They're like on a double-digit growth. I'm talking about last year and now onward, and the projection from prior years have been double-digit. And currently, we are not seeing a great GDP growth rate, which I hope gets better. So it would be good to like expose ourselves to European and emerging markets once you are aware of like which asset class or which niche you want to focus on.
So do you feel like stocks are an important part of building wealth?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like mutual funds are made of all the stocks. Like they're not like just like they are like professional portfolio managers who build these portfolios for individuals like you and me who just don't want to like invest into individual stocks and like, you know what, I pick up S&P 500 or NASDAQ or like any Morgan Stanley MSCI fund to like invest. Point being, I feel like in the long horizon, if you again, it goes back to history again. Like if you see over a span of like give or take, let's say 30 years, 40 years, I think the return on investment from any, like let's say S&P, the classic American benchmark fund, gives you enough returns to invest over a span of 30-year horizon. Like it's just amazing to see if you expose yourself to like just one stock. And it doesn't really end there also. Like you'll be constantly trading like that stock because you can be like sitting on one stock for a long haul, Then you think like, okay, there is just some change in the nature of business they're doing. The sales are dropping, and then you want to be like mindful of like what's coming next. So I think that would be a good start.
Okay. All right. So I have another question for you. Oh yeah, okay. And this is about financial advice. So let's say I've got a good job, I'm making money, and then oh goodness, let me rephrase that. I've got a good job, I'm making money, and I'm at a point where I'm seeking financial advice. How do I vet whether a financial advisor or service actually has my best interest in mind? Like, how do you know, instead of just like, oh, I'm just going to go to this firm and just choose the first person?
So in the industry, like for instance, like if let's say you're the case and like you want to invest. So I feel like the first starting point, like we discussed previously, a 401k. would be the start of it. Like if you're a full-time employee working in United States, you will be eligible for a 401k match. Generally, on an average, the match ranges from the employer side is from 4 to 8%. If you're lucky on the higher side, 4 is the base case. And on your side, there is no capping unless you reach a certain dollar amount. So I would say like start there, max out your 401k. Like let's say you're 22 years old, started a nice gig in New York City, pays you $80,000. Like you bring home X amount of money after that. And I would say just max out that 401k because that's your pre-tax money. You would not pay taxes on it right then and there. But eventually when you start withdrawing at the age of 64 and a half or whatever that number is, I feel like that's when you pay taxes on it.
But if you, okay, but say you are at the point, or not at a point, but say you want to take a little bit of a risk and you're like,
Understood.
I need some advice, or I want, I want someone to give someone some money so they can invest into some stocks
Fair,
for me.
fair.
How, like, what are you necessarily looking for?
So I think for those, Fidelity has a huge platform. So
Okay.
they have these professionals called CFPs, Certified Finance Professionals, very educated, smart, and it's a license exam. So pretty much they cannot time the market, nobody can, but they can educate you like so if this is your expectations, that's your risk appetite. If that's your 10-year horizon, that's where you are right now. If you keep doing A, B, and C for consistent number of years, you can get a desired product at the end of 10th year. But it doesn't really end there, then instances like COVID happens and everything is out of control. So those nature of events they cannot even predict. Even humankind can't even predict until it happens. So those nature of events cannot be accounted for. But other than that, I feel like CFPs, setting up quarterly calls with them, them acquainting you that you will be monthly contributing X amount of money. That's what your dollar growth over a span of time. And make sure you constantly express your concerns as to like what your expectations are in the process. Because when we don't clear our expectations, then there is a lot of these assumptions in the gray. Like I feel like I'm not a big fan of the gray anyways. I like it lined and like structured approach to things in this instance. So I feel like the CFPs could be like a good starting point. And if you still want to like, I would say just stick to CFPs if you want to make sure you don't lose your money.
Okay. CFPs.
Yeah, or like just start from any simple mutual fund or an equity traded fund like an ETF. Like find something that like aligns with you, that resonates with you, and like other than S&P obviously, so you can divest and like cover the risk.
Okay. So you're saying ask questions, check
Definitely.
in.
Definitely. With this finance professional, a CFP, definitely. And find folks who can like help you navigate this journey because it's not a sprint. It's not a 100-meter sprint. Like we have a long way to go. Like obviously everybody wants to live today. We all do. But like if you want to see decent investment returns, like it will come over a span of time.
Yo, Phil. What up, man?
What's poppin', boy?
Yo, what's this fit you got on? What's up here?
The fit I got on, you feel me? Shouts out to 1996, baby, the year I was born. I got the Malcolm X tee. I got the leather jacket. I got the 1996 tat. I got the slugs. 2 open faces, the full gold roll. I got the big baggy jeans. I got my baggy jeans so I can put the bags of money in there eventually. And then I got the Nike shoes on to the Nike boots. And I got the New York hat. Because even though I'm from North Carolina, from Charlotte, North Carolina, we still shouts out to the East Coast, shouts out to New York City. You feel me?
Welcome back to the apartment, you guys. I'm gonna finish this interview out by myself.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I feel like I got the real money mind here. So yeah, let's I'm just gonna ask you just a couple more questions and then I'm gonna have you do something fun with me at the end of this conversation, okay? So Adi, what's one money myth you've completely unlearned?
Unlearned? You cannot really buy everything with money.
Money can't buy everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think conceptually it does sound right. But like, let's say if somebody needs healthcare and the insurance is maxed out, like, there's a cap to how much insurance can pay. Like, how are you going to cover those medical bills?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I feel like I would rephrase the term buy, but I would say it's a tool that helps us, look out for our best interest,
Mm-hmm.
look out for our loved ones' interests, as well as the communal interests, like serving the communities, because at the end of it, the goal is about to like make life better across all aspects of communities. Like, like there are some underserved communities. Obviously, if government decides to pump some resources there, things will get better.
Mm-hmm.
Kids will get educated faster, and there is this whole learning curve that will shorten in the process, and you can give back. So I feel like that's one of the myths, though. Again, it is a very conflicting argument.
Yeah.
I personally feel like that's my take on it. Like,
Yeah.
it just happens to serve so many aspects of human life. You cannot discredit it and take it
Yeah.
away.
Exactly. I would say mine is like money is the root of all evil.
Uh,
Because I think we're taught that, which kind of makes you scared of money.
exactly.
But like you were saying, it is a tool that we use
Exactly.
to get the things that we want and the things that we need.
Definitely, and like make life better altogether.
And it
Isn't that
makes
the
life
end
better.
goal? Like communal service, like giving it to underdeserved communities,
Yeah.
like educating our next generation, because they will make things so much better for us. So
I love that. And this last question is, what's a money move you're proud of that didn't look flashy on the outside?
oh, I was so frugal.
Very frugal.
Oh, so frugal. Like when I when I had my first job, like I not something to brag about, but just to like share. Like I would literally have like back home when I was working, I used to go like 6 days in a week. There was no Saturdays.
That's
So I would like have 4 pair of like clothing and I'll just repeat them on a weekly basis, and like did it for years, I think.
Wow, just 4 outfits.
Yeah, just
rotate the 4 outfits.
Yeah, just
Wow.
wash them,
That's
get
sacrifice.
them. Yeah, like and like always had home cooked meals. So like
Nice.
or eating out. So I feel like 4, 5 years, 6 years. I feel like, believe it or not, like and like how he was asking us right now, like how do you see when it pays? So I feel like my sacrifice around that time, my family's sacrifice around that time, helped me when I came to the US, because the
Yeah.
currency conversion, to a certain extent, shattered not my dreams, but my approach to how to handle these things here.
Mhm.
But the money that I saved here from the frugality I did years ago
Yeah.
paid me back in so much more that I couldn't even like
Awesome.
be thankful about it. And like the optics of it did not look pleasant. Like everybody
Yeah.
like your friends are chilling, you're going out, having like doing things and all of it. I feel like grand scheme of things, everybody wants to enjoy life.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you like kind of limit yourself in the earlier years, I'm not saying limit throughout your life, like initial years, because that's peak, that's the early stages when you can mold yourself, being meticulous about your expenses, having a budget, sticking to your plan, don't haywire in the process. So yeah, I think that paved my path coming to the US.
You hear that, guys? Be frugal, but be frugal with a plan. Don't be cheap just to be
Exactly.
cheap. Like
Exactly.
make sure that you're saving while being frugal at the same
Frugality,
time.
definitely.
Okay, Adi, I wanted to know. Okay, so I don't think we have time for a game today. We
Okay.
had to cut it a little bit short, but I wanted to know if you wanted to throw a stack with me. So we're just gonna take this, or we're
I'll
just
just
gonna
watch.
throw it.
I just feel like, yeah,
Come on, throw a stack with me. Just throw.
sure.
Here we
yeah.
go. This is yours.
Okay. Just throw it like that.
Yeah.
How do you?
This isn't real money, so we're good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Just
Like,
gonna
how,
take a
how
sack.
do you do that? Like just
throw
like
it in
just
there.
like throw. Just like.
Yeah. Woo!
Oh, that's better. I like that. I like that.
Oh
That's-
yeah, that's nice. Oh, you have to lick your fingers for that. There we go. Woo! Money moves, you guys. Thank you so much.
Of course, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Can I have a hug?
Of course, yeah. Thank you for having me, of course.
All right, you guys, that wraps this episode of Department. Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on YouTube. We will see you soon and make that money.